Feeling a little better than before, I decided to take a break by going to get a drink at Cafe and free refills, so there was a lot of juice machines placed around the main counter. The one downside to room 37 was its distance from the main counter. As I came out of my room, I saw that the door in neighboring room 36 was open. To get to the front, I had no choice but to pass in front of it. As I passed in, I nonchalantly peeked inside, but no one was there. Come to think of it, I heard the sound of someone standing up in a short while ago, but a bag had been left at the side, left at the foot of the reclining chair. It was a student's bag with a stuffed animal strap hanging from it. It was the same girl Frog Anatomy had brought with her yesterday. Moreover, there were 3 of them. I guess they really were becoming a trend after all. Not that I cared one way or another. If I spent too long looking at the other customer, might come back and suspect me of being a pervert or a thief. Having thought that, I was about to get my drink, but the letters displayed on the monitor of the power-up PC entered the edge of my field of sight, and my eyes opened wide. It said, New Gen Wiki. That wasn't all. It was also used gaudy, sensationalistic fonts. New Gen. I was deliberately trying not to pay attention to the news about those incidents. I didn't want to know the details. That way I could keep telling myself it had no connection to me. No, but settling all that aside, perhaps there was some kind of meaning in the fact that the customer in the room next door to me at a net cafe was looking at New Gen Wiki site. For an instant, the demon girl's face appeared in my brain, and goosebumps covered my whole body. I forcefully chased away such negative thoughts by shaking my head. I was overthinking it. That's right. This was paranoia, plain and simple. There was a single day when the New Gen incidents didn't show up on some TV program, and anyone could be interested in them. That was all there was to it. Yeah, that had to be it. All right, time to get back to refilling my drink. Putting my cup under the drink machine, I pressed the button for Coke without a moment's hesitation. Cold Coke soon started pouring in. The sun was setting, and after a little while, it would begin to get crowded in the front room. I saw several customers waiting by the register for someone to guide them to their rooms. From here on out, the number of people would keep increasing as night approached. After another hour, all the private booths around 37 would be filled up. At that point, I probably headed home. Cup in hand, I was heading back to my seat. Along the way, I happened to glance in the corridor that led to the bathrooms. That's her again. I saw a form of a bispectacled girl in a sumi uniform vanishing into the corridor depths. More to the point, it was the same girl A who come chasing after me this morning. Thinking that my eyes might have been mistaken, I hid in the shadow of some bookshelves and kept looking in the direction of the corridor. But then onward, she didn't show herself whatsoever. My eyes had been mistaken, hadn't they? Right, I had only caught a glimpse of her, and a ridiculous number of sumi girls used this cafe. Even glasses-wearing girls were here in abundance. But if it were indeed Girl A, what could be the meaning behind her being here? A mere coincidence, or had she come for me? Somehow I was starting to get kind of scared. Excuse me. I left the cafe and hurried on toward my base. In the end, I left the store shortly after getting freaked out. Though I wanted to return home as soon as possible, the sidewalks were surging with people, and I couldn't progress as quickly as I have liked. I was starting to feel worse and worse. I hate crowds. They give me the sense that everyone's looking at me and snickering. When the light turned red, my only option was to stop. I swiftly scanned the area. Girl A was nowhere to be seen. When I climbed up Dojin Hill, walking became considerably easier. Normally, I would do my best to go back by choosing the kinds of back roads where other people are scarce, but after what happened on that night, the day before yesterday, I stuck to the main roads just in case. Another red light forced me to pull up short, and I looked behind my back again, but I didn't spot Girl A. The person I'd seen at cafe might have been someone different after all. Mildly relieved, I relaxed my shoulders a little since they had been frozen in place this whole time and faced forward. Uh-oh. Okay, now I'm pretty sure I read somewhere like if you can pick the green one or red one. The green one, he has a image. The red one, I think it's like bad trip, or you could just completely ignore it. Stunned, I took a single step back. On the other side of the crosswalk, that girl was there, in the midst of the people waiting for the light to change. And the gaze coming from the depths of her glasses was blatantly pointed at me. She didn't try to look away. Her eyes burned with a solemn color, demanding something from me. Here we go again. The light turned green. A girl I began walking along with the other pedestrians. She was coming this way. I couldn't move. I froze in place. She was looking straight at me. She steadily came closer and closer. And then she stopped in front of me. Run away, whispered my reason, but somehow my body wouldn't move. It was as though my consciousness were floating somewhere outside my body. With a slow, deliberate movement, as if she meant to show me something, Girl A reached inside her blazer. She pulled something out of her inner pocket. A knife or a gun or a stun gun. It made me think I'd seen too many TV drawings, but the premonition of something bad coming out wouldn't leave my head. Huh? Girl A murmured deep in her glasses. Her gaze remained unmoving, since long before it had been fixed solely on my eyes. She held out to me was my student ID book. I took it without thinking. When I opened it, my name, my headshot photo were inside. The student handbook was mine. Her face, which had been stony up until now, just now suddenly softened. Nice to meet you too. She knocked the wind out of my sails. Couldn't this mean it had all been product of my paranoia? I don't care what you say, but this face is kind of creepy. A relationship flag? It's here. My days of living in real life have only just begun. I came back to myself with a gasp. The light that should have turned green was still red. A Girl A should have been right in front of my eyes was still on the other side of the crosswalk. Just now, did I imagine that? This time the light really did turn green. The pedestrians began walking all at once. I couldn't move. Girl A didn't move. Unmoving, she stared straight at me. It was as though time had stopped solely for the two of us. Why didn't that bispectacled girl start walking? Why was she still standing in place? She's weird. She's strange. I mustn't get involved with her. It would be better to run. I should run away while I still had the chance. Run. Rating my weak will and withering heart, I dashed off in a straight line away from Girl A. I ran back to down Dogan Hill, though I just come up it and entered the side road I encountered along the way. Oh God, not again! Instant, something slammed violently into my shoulder and I fell down. I groaned, failing to understand what happened to me as pain ran through my whole body. It took me a while to start pushing myself up. Uh-oh. When I raised my face, there was a large scooter toppled over in the middle of the road. I must have collided with it. Gritting my teeth, I tried forcing myself to stand, but my legs wouldn't support me. Nothing seemed to be broken, but... Before I knew it, Girl A was right in front of my eyes. She peered into my face, though she was worried about me. What was with her? What was with this girl? My body wouldn't move for me. Pathetic as I was petrified. I didn't know what to do. With things having turned out like this, I regretted that I hadn't used a train to Shinsen to get home. Girl, I called out to me cautiously. Was she scheming to catch me off guard by pretending to be concerned about me? I won't let you fool me. I won't get taken in by the likes of some 3D chick. She looked bewildered. I desperately derided her while scooting back on my butt in hopes of opening even a little distance between us. If I didn't do so, I thought maybe she'd pull a knife out of her clothes at any second and come and attack me. Oh boy. That gruesome spectacle revived at the back of my mind over and over. No matter what I did, I kept wondering whether I would end up the same way. She lowered her head, her expression wounded.
あの、あなたが急に走り出して様子を見に来たら倒れてたので心配で。でも今は用事とかあるわけじゃないんですが、
Hmm. Not as if she's has any business with me, she says. Way too cryptic.
なんで付きまとってくるんだ。
それは
She fumbled her words as expected. Her behavior was far too suspicious.
楠木優愛って言います。
No one had asked her to, but she suddenly started introducing herself.
実はあなたのこと一目見てなんとなく存在が気になって、それでつい。
She just ended up tailing me. This woman who introduced herself as Yua, gradually lowering her gaze while blabbering something obscure.
ごめんなさい。
She fiercely bowed her head. Impossible. That was my honest reaction. Looking at her like this, the girl called Yua was rather cute. I acknowledged that, which was exactly why I didn't believe her. A 3D girl who felt favorably toward me? What was this, an eroge? That is irony, folks. This is sort of like that. Sort of. In my whole life up until now, no one had ever said something like that to me. That was why this is son confession could only ring false to me. Did she think I was Did she think I'd rejoice over it, regardless of the fact that she'd been creeping me out like a stalker up until a short while ago? I might dig a character like that in the 2D world, but I didn't want to see it in real life. It sent me reeling back, and I was incredibly embarrassed. I wanted to get away from her right away. The third dimension really is shit, but to put you under the pressure of anxiety when all you're doing is talking, I'm... Oh.
三次元に興味はないよ。いや、
I stammered because I was attempting to say something harsh. Even so, I had to make it clear to her, or she'd keep hovering around me later. No thanks, I pass on that.
迷惑だよ。付きまとわないでよ。
すいません。
Seeing her hunched over and fall silent, I wonder if she really reconsidered. No, don't let her trick you. Don't trust anything in the third dimension. All I could trust was the second dimension. I had more faith in Seraton's words than whatever this girl said.
もうついてこないでね。僕帰るから。
Faltering, I fought to stand up. My body still hurt here and there. My shoulder in particular had trouble moving, and intermittent dull pain kept running through it. The pain briefly made me dizzy. I might have hit my head when I fell. You hurriedly caught at my hand, supporting me as I stumbled.
怪我してるんですね。手貸します。
It was a lot of work to avoid meeting her eyes, and no doubt about it, my face was turning bright red. She might make fun of me if she saw it, so I turned my face as I roughly shook off Yua's hand. The inside of my head was pure white. I almost never touched females other than my family members. I felt the pulse in my chest growing steadily faster and faster.
こっちまで送ります。あなたが怪我したのは私が付きまとっちゃったせいですから。だから送らせてください。
I was happy at her suggestion. I wasn't used to having others be nice to me, so even though she was a 3D girl who previously induced only revulsion in me, I was in serious danger of falling for her. That was why I didn't have the courage to look at Yua face to face. Besides, she was a stalker, and she might be related to that demon girl, and I didn't want to die. Anyway, I was tempted to think about a lot of things, but I couldn't think about anything, and I became more and more discombobulated. There's a word for you.
お家どこですか？
シンセ。
シン
Oh, crap. I thought as soon as I nodded. Why did I have to tell her? What was I expecting from her? At most, this would turn out to be a delusion. Or else, at the very end, I'd be thrust down from the pinnacle of happiness and fall into despair. That kind of pattern appears a lot in anime. A death flag had gone up for me. Oh, no. Shit, 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 shit. Without my realizing it, you had slipped under my shoulder to help me up. Her body was practically glued to me. Her hair smelled nice. Impossible. There was no way a 3D girl would be this nice to someone like me.
歩けますか？
When she asked me, I made a mistake of nodding again.
行きましょう。
Yua spoke nervously and began to slowly move forward, watching my feet. She was doing so much for me, that I could no longer refuse her or shake her off. Helpless, I had no choice but to start walking, barring the assistance of her delicate shoulders. Neither you nor I spoke until we reached the building where my base was located, as if I could ever have a normal conversation with a girl. Obviously, if I brought up the subject of anime or games or figures, 3D girls would reflexively call me a creep without so much as trying to understand me. From my perspective, there was nothing to be gained from talking with those bitches.
ここでもういいから。
Somehow forcing myself to say just that much, I studied her reaction. Yua gave me a small nod and let me go. I still staggered a
やっ
little.
ぱりお部屋までついていきましょうか。
Ignoring your suggestion, I headed to the building's entrance. This ragged 22-year-old building called Kurenai Hall was 8 stories high and housed multiple tenants. It was grimy, and the elevator hall, not that it was large enough to be called a hall, was dark because the electricity there didn't work, and the stairs were steep, and merely 3 people were enough to fill up the elevator, and its speed of ascent was irritatingly slow. The container housing to the roof formed my base. I ended up there thanks purely to my dad's connections. Apparently, he was a friend of the building's owner, and the rent was pretty cheap. The fact that it only took 10 minutes to walk to my school was also a plus. In truth, I wanted to live in Akihabara, but my parents wouldn't let me live by myself anywhere other than here, so I gave up and settled in. Just as they say, the place you live becomes your palace, and I felt fortunate that it wasn't so bad once I actually came to stay here. There was supposed to be a tenant on the first floor, but ever since I first arrived here, the shutters had always been closed. Next to the rented space on the first floor was a narrow entrance which led to the elevator hall. You had to take a slight step up to get in there. The instant I raised my foot to climb it, a fierce pain ran through me. I swayed.
大丈夫ですか？
Yua leaped forward to hold me. Damn it! So she was still
や
here.
っぱり部屋まで送ります。絶対送りますから。
Her declaration sounded utterly frantic. To be perfectly honest, it was enormous help to have Yua come this far with me. After reaching the 8th floor via the elevator, I had to climb up a steep emergency stairs, and in my current state, she seemed nigh impossible to do alone. Yua didn't seem very strong, at least going by her outward appearance. Despite that, she did her best to support me, catching her breath as she helped me climb.
こんなところに住んでるんですね。
Don't judge me. He was rendered speechless upon seeing the container housing. I guess from a normal person's point of view, living in an industrial container would seem downright unbelievable.
なんか憧れます。
A liar.
アウトローな感じがしていいですよね。こういうのって。
I never dreamed someone would say such a thing. Was she trying to butter me up or what? I think she is. I wouldn't be fooled. I definitely won't be fooled by one of you 3D girls, okay? With you as supporting me, I opened the padlock and went inside. Ha! I finally made it back. Today had been disastrous. It might be best to become a hikikomori after all.
暗ですね。電気のスイッチはどこに？
This girl, she brazenly gone ahead into the middle of the room, But, well, there was also the fact that she lent me her shoulder on the way there. If possible, I didn't want her to look around the room. After all, there was a ton of figures lined up on the shelves, and eroge packages were piled up to the bed, and the floor was littered with trash.
もういいから話して。
Having communicated that I waited for Yua's hand to leave me, but she wouldn't release me so easily.
すごく散らかってじゃなくて歩きにくいと思うんですけど絶対危ないです。ソファーまで行きましょう。そこで話します。
In the end, I did as she told me. Magazines and CDs were scattered atop the sofa too, but Yua swiftly tightened them up while still supporting me and helped me sit down. She was kind to me and so considerate. No, don't be fooled. I won't let you fool me.
平気ですか？
You know what? I'm going to save because I feel like there's something bad gonna happen here. So, save. She and I were alone in my room. Since the door was still thrown open, some faint moonlight came in, but the inside of the room remained mostly dark, which is why I couldn't tell what kind of expression you was making. Conversely, though, me being unable to see her well made her breathing sound even more sexual. Oh boy. I hope I don't have to edit anything. Come to think of it, this was the first time someone other than my little sister had visited in my room. She was a girl, and I'd only just met. If this were a game, I'd have triggered an event flag, this sort of situation where we get cozy and end up kissing. But I wasn't expecting that kind of thing. Reality was endlessly cruel, unlike the second dimension, and the girl wasn't normal. She was a stalker. Yes, good. You keep reminding yourself that she was stalking you. Speaking of which, how long did Yua plan on standing there in front of me? If she'd done what she wanted, she'd hurry up and leave. Having thought that far, I pulled up short. Surely she wasn't planning on doing something horrible now that the two of us were alone.
明かりのスイパソコン？
The only source of illumination in this room was the desk light set next to my PC. I started to tell her to switch it on, but I couldn't bring myself to finish.
そうか。あのデスクライトですね。
Oh crap. The cross is still in his room. That's not good. The cross is still in his room somewhere. Scrupulously avoiding the garbage at her feet, as she walked, Yua wavered her way over to the desk and turned on the light. The room was at last released from the darkness. In the dark, being unable to see had the opposite. See, I see this in books all the time. Does this make sense to you? I think this is wrong. Had the opposite effect of driving me to fantasize about all kinds of things. But now that I could see her clearly, I didn't know where to look and become even more embarrassed. Becoming completely incapable of speech, I hurriedly hunched over. I shivered convulsively when Yua suddenly raised her voice. Her line of sight was aimed at my figure of Serotan, standing next to my monitor in usual moe pose.
これってプラチューのセイラちゃんですよね。
Let me just check something. Wow, okay. Okay, so, I think this is a good place to stop, because it's already a long video. I think I may even make this into 2 parts. So, yeah, if you're hearing this and you're watching from the previous video, this would probably be the 2nd part. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're getting in some dangerous territory here. Stalker girl in her room, where he still has part of the, evidence from the murder scene still somewhere on the floor. Let's hope she doesn't find it. Well, we'll see next time on Chaos Head. Hope you guys have a good day, and until next time, sayonara.